What's up, everybody? Robert Thompson here with a little update for most of you. I do apologize for not doing more videos recently, and those of you on Facebook and social media will know that that's because I was in the hospital since Wednesday night. So the last, we'll call it 3 days. I apologize for the hair, and yeah, I look like shit, I know. Wednesday morning, I was totally fine. I went out driving around, went to a couple stores, ran a couple errands, picked up some stuff that I needed, and was coming home about lunchtime. Sorry, it's taking me a second to recall exactly how that day played out. Coming home about lunchtime because I remember driving by, I think it was McDonald's, and I was like, that sounds good. I'll come back out and get it. But, cool. Awesome. Sorry, my computer updated for me. That's great. I was like, I'll take this stuff home, come back out and get something to eat. Well, by the time I got home, came inside, brought my stuff inside, I started to feel a little lightheaded, and I know when that hits, I hadn't taken insulin that day or eaten anything. But I know the feeling, I understand what it means, so I was like, okay, I'll take my insulin and that'll be that. So I took my insulin shot, went and laid down. Maybe 15 minutes later, maybe a half hour. Again, time is very strange to me now, but it was a very short amount of time. After I laid down, I started feeling what I can only describe as heartburn, but it wouldn't stop. Like I couldn't choke it down, I couldn't cough it out. It just kept burning and burning, and then it turned into nausea. So I was like, okay, something I ate last night didn't sit right with my stomach. I'm going to throw up, and that'll be that. I've done it before. It happens. So I go in the bathroom. I throw up. I go back and lay down. 5 minutes later, I'm up in the bathroom throwing up again and again and again. And the feeling didn't go away. It just kept burning. It was just starting in my stomach and going up into my lungs, my nose, my mouth, everything, like just burning. I started feeling really shaky, more shaky than this hand is from, or I'm sorry, no, it's this one. This one shakes, yeah, from the stroke. Like I was bad. I was out on my feet, honestly. But I was aware enough to know, like, this is what happened the last time I had a stroke, and that's where my concern came from. I was like, I can't wait again. I'm not going to wait again, and I'm not going to go through this. Like, I need to go get checked out. I gave the animals food and water, wandered out to my car, which in retrospect was not a good idea. I can only say I'm sorry after the fact, but don't drive if you feel that you need 911 emergency assistance, because I was truly out on my feet. I threw up as I was walking out the door. Got to the hospital, wandered in, told them, this is why I'm concerned. I've had a stroke before, and this is how the situation started. I need to make sure that it's not a stroke again. And if it is, I need the blood got off my brain. So they took me immediately back. I want to give Parkview Hospital and all their workers credit at every stage. Thank you tremendously if any of you ever see this. They took me immediately back. I got a CT scan. They instantly went with, we have to make sure that it's not a stroke, which they did. And I'm grateful for that. It wasn't a stroke. I didn't have any bleeding on the brain, but I kept throwing up, which The bad thing about it was from the time I started throwing up until I quit throwing up, it was just, I can only describe it as black bile. It was just this black, tarry, thick, grotesque disgustingness that I didn't know would come out of my. You would think that it could have been blood. It wasn't. They tested for that. I wasn't throwing up blood, but it was this thick, like black, viscous goo that kept coming up every time I threw up. And that night they put me on some stuff for nausea and stuff, and it just kept coming up, and they took me to the ICU after that, put me on fluids and so forth, and come to find out what it was, what I was diagnosed with is called diabetic ketoacidosis. I've heard of it before, never experienced it, don't really want to experience it again, but I'll get more into that in a little bit. Basically what happens is I was eating like shit to the point where, like, who knew that 3 rock stars a day and some cupcakes were bad for you? I'm an idiot. I stopped caring because I was so concerned with the workload that the script work was picking up, and I was just trying to deliver as much as I could, as quickly as I could, and I stopped caring about me, and that's what caused it. Basically what happened was, after a while of not checking my insulin, if I didn't remember to take my insulin, or taking it too late, as what happened that morning, basically your body says, fuck you, I'm going to teach you, if you're not going to pay attention, that you need to pay attention. And everything that I had consumed over this past few days before I went into the ER was, keep feeling these lockups coming on, and they're not, and I want to get into that too. Basically what diabetic ketoacidosis is, it says it in the name, acid, where what you ingest ultimately turns acidic and your body doesn't process the food properly, so it comes back up like acid reflux times 10, and you just have to get it out, and that's where the vomiting came from. It was all diabetic related, totally me being a dumbass and not caring at the moment. And the fact is that I have to acknowledge that I am getting older, and because I'm getting older, it's okay, buddy. I'm okay. I was just tearing these off. My dog was really worried about me, so I'm got to make sure he's okay for tonight. You're okay, bud. Hey, sit down for me. I'm recording a video. You got to sit down. You're okay. I'm okay. I promise. I'm okay. Go on. Get down. Good boy. But yeah, so that's what it was, causing the vomiting. I have nobody to blame but myself. I didn't prioritize my health when trying to account for the work, because the fact is that since I've had this stroke, it's been more difficult for me to write as quickly as I used to. It wasn't uncommon for me before the stroke to get 2 scripts done every month, if possible, commonly. Now I can't possibly fathom working at that rate. I can't do it. So that was entirely my fault, and I take responsibility for it. I do need to make some changes, because the fact of the matter is, while I was laying there in the hospital doing nothing, bored out of my mind the last 24 hours, the realization hit me that I do want to live. I don't want to keep going in. I don't want to be like my father or my mother was before she passed, and just keep going back to the hospital for the next issue. Because the fact of the matter is, they could have kept me a lot longer than this, and the animals were here, and I can't leave them too long on their own. They did well for being here 3 days. They were good, but I can't leave them alone longer than that. So changes do need to happen, because as one of the doctors said, because I have had a stroke already, if I continue to not care in this regard, the lack of diabetic care on my end can cause a second stroke, and they're concerned that if that happens, it would be a devastating stroke. Their way of saying the second one could kill you. And I don't want that to happen. I have too much going on and too much coming up, and life is taking a positive turn. And this to me was just a reset to realize that if I want these good things that are coming, I have to stick around, and in order to stick around, I need to make changes, because the first 33 years of my life, minus 2 between high school and between high school and college, when I was really into fitness, I just haven't gave a shit, and that has to change. I need to look into a gym membership. The problem with that is that my right side is down my arm, down my leg, all the way to my foot. It's very numb, and they think that that's due to the stroke. Whether or not I get that strength back, I don't know. But while I am getting paid for the scripts and stuff like that, I have decided to take my doctor's advice and look into quote-unquote a disability claim, and see what is possible for me to get. Sorry, the dog and cat are under my legs fighting. Thanos, can you please leave him alone? Thank you. Lay down. Hey, come here. Stop. That's enough. Lay down. Lay down. Good boy. You're okay. That, and like I said, I'm only 33, and I keep having thoughts come up of like, these opportunities are coming up, which I greatly appreciate, but it concerns me time-wise that they're coming up ironically as I approach my 35th birthday. Now, the significance of that, as any of you film individuals would know, is that a lot of talented, heavy-set, out of shape comedians passed away at 35. Like, that's kind of, I keep feeling like that's the rest in peace to John Belushi and Chris Farley. But I just keep feeling like that it's ironic and coincidental that I'm starting to get work and starting to find success as that birthday nears. I know I have like 2 years, but I have to make changes now if I want to see that through. And honestly, I don't want to be like my parents. I'm not looking to go out by the time I'm 60 either. I don't necessarily want to live to 100. That's fair to say, but not looking to go out 40 years ahead of that either. Yeah, so it's all on me to make changes and stuff like that. I do need to look into a gym membership, and I need to look into actually preparing food for myself at home more. And I'm going to try to do videos about certain things to try to keep myself on track. So those of you watching, you're going to be my accountability buddies, if you will, for a little while at least. And Yeah, I appreciate all of you that checked in on me. I appreciate all of you that cared. To clarify, my phone has been having trouble holding its charge, and it died shortly after I got to the hospital. And I posted a picture on Facebook of when you know, right after their assessment of it's not a stroke. So, and then it died shortly after that. But that's why I wasn't able to get back to any of you. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for checking in on me. I promise I'm okay. No more house checks or wellness checks, please, only because I ask that simply because then they call animal control because he sounds vicious when he barks and gets anxiety and stuff like that, and I don't want him or any of the cats taken away. I can't lose any of them, so please don't worry about wellness checks. I will try to notify people as I did, as much as I can when I can, but the phone was giving me trouble in doing that. As for the lockups, I appreciate that what they've been doing has seemed to work. I haven't had a lockup in 2 days, and it's been very relaxing. But they try to come on. Like, I can feel the hint, what I would normally feel at the very start of them coming on, and then it stops. Like, it cuts out. There's not a connection. It's a neuro problem. They've said that's all they told me while I was in the hospital was it's a neuro problem associated with the stroke as to why I was locking up. I appreciate that it doesn't come on, but it feels very uncomfortable. It doesn't necessarily hurt, but it feels very uncomfortable when I feel my arm and my hand trying to lock up and even my face trying to lock up, and it can't. So now it's went from painful to uncomfortable, and you know, I don't really care for either one. But at least with the pain, the lockups happening, it ends after a couple minutes. This feeling sticks around in my arm for 5 to 10 minutes before it finally releases. And it's almost like my brain being like, okay, we've tried enough, and giving up on it for that period of time. But I do appreciate them fixing that again. If any of you ever see it, Parkview, Randalia, all of the doctors from the ER to the ICU, to my regular room stay, the nurses especially, I kept hearing consistently, we're understaffed, I'm sorry, and they still showed up and busted ass for me and for everybody around me, so I truly appreciate that. But yeah, if any of you are looking for a possible career path, apparently there's a nursing shortage too, along with several other careers that I saw in the news laying in the hospital bed that are going on strike as of this weekend or Monday. And I believe TSA agents have until Thanksgiving to get their COVID vaccinations, or they're being laid off without pay or whatever. Not to mention the shipping issues at both harbors being almost 6 months behind, so that's cool. I laid there in the bed for the last day just watching the news, and it just repeated over and over again, so I apologize. It was extremely boring, and they still gave me my Adderall and Prozac, so I was laying there hyper-focused and intense on the news and the stories they were sharing, with nothing to do about it. Yeah. So, I'm okay. I promise. Again, please no wellness checks, because then the Humane Society gets called, the animal control gets called out, and I don't need him being taken away. And I don't have the means to get him properly chipped and tagged and all of that nonsense that I'd have to go through and then 4 cats on top of it. They are fine. They are healthy. They are happy that I'm home. I'm happy that I'm home. Thank you all for caring. I appreciate it. I will try to get to some videos as soon as tonight. I'm home and feeling much better, but I need a little bit of time to adjust. And it's Halloween Kills weekend, so if you can, get to the theater and check that out. So you guys take care.